Hi, I'm Marco Flores and you are watching Purebred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys and welcome to the Purebred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios and today we're in the studio to preview our round one encounter against Sydney FC, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by someone that played for both clubs, Iain Fyfe, a truly reliable South Australian centre half with two highly regarded stints as an Adelaide United player throughout a very accomplished professional career. Welcome mate. How you doing?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Great to have you in here. Now, just in a matter of housekeeping matters to begin with, you won the NPL with Campbelltown in what was an absolutely phenomenal season yet again for the club. You must be absolutely wrapped with how the lads went.
Yeah, very happy about the season. Off the back of the previous season where we won a few trophies as well. And historically, Campbelltown have never really backed it up. Mm-hmm. So it was great to to do the double again with a great bunch of boys, great team, great club. I can't speak highly enough of the club, but more so of my teammates, coaching staff, of course, Joe and Stubbsy and Big Les there, Eddie Scalzi. That's a melting pot for success. So when you combine it with talented players, great bunch of boys, you get to create these great memories and win trophies.
No, really well said, mate. Well, we're going to jump straight into it. So after beginning your career in the NSL with Adelaide City and Sydney Olympic, you moved to Scotland in 2004 to join Hamilton Academical, where you earned 15 appearances in the Scottish Premiership. Now, while Scotland's becoming an increasingly prevalent destination for young Australian footballers in more modern times, it wasn't so much back then. How did this move come about for you? And what was your experience like playing in Scotland?
Yeah, the move came about by way of chance, really. It was the end of the NSL era.
Yeah, so we're talking 04, 05.
We're talking a long time ago. Yeah. And yeah, like you touched on, I played for Adelaide City, enjoyed my time there. Went to Sydney Olympic for a year. Again, this was like a time when you'll remember, and a lot of older heads will remember that, there was a real up and down period where no one really knew what was going on. Adelaide City had just left the NSL, and that's when Adelaide United formed, obviously. Mm-hmm. And it probably a small regret that I wasn't really part of that, but it stemmed from me having a few choices on the table and trying to secure my future, and I did that before Adelaide United was created. So I chose to go to Sydney Olympic. Mm-hmm. After that, spent a year there, enjoyed my time there, and then moved to Scotland when it was announced that it would take 12 months for the A-League to really kick off and get started. So knowing that was going to happen, you can't really you've got to continue your football career somewhere. So I was lucky enough to be able to go over to Scotland and went to this club through various agents and things like that. Mm-hmm. and signed a 1-year contract there at Hamilton. And it was an enjoyable time. My background is Scottish, so I had family there.
I was suspecting that would be the connection.
yeah. As well located. It was the other team in Glasgow, so to speak, the third team. Went there, played 15 games, enjoyed my time there. But then when I got a few options to come back and play in the A-League, mm-hmm. I took them straight away because I wanted to come back to Australia, and lucky enough, Sydney FC called me, and that was a great opportunity for me to go there.
We'll get into that in 2 seconds' time. I just want to quickly ask, the Scottish League gets a bit of a bad rap sometimes in these times that we live in today. Can't forget back then there were some seriously elite ballers running around there, particularly the likes of sort of Nakamura and that for Celtic. So you must have had some great experiences playing against some real big names there.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, we played a few. Games against some good teams. The Scottish League has obviously had a pretty bad rap, but there's some great players to come out of Scotland, and historically speaking, we're talking about some wonderful players, and Kenny Dalglish and Graham Souness and these types of players. If you look at their team from back in the day, then they had world-class players, and they were the superstars of the English league back then. Since that time, it's kind of tapered off a little bit, but they've still got some real competitive, great teams. You look at Rangers, Steven Gerrard going up there at the moment.
Up and comers again.
Yeah, for sure. You look at Celtic, massive club, huge club. These two teams are massive teams around the world. If you end up playing for one of these teams, like a Rogic has, he won't be able to go to many countries and not get recognised these days. There's these Celtic fans are absolutely everywhere.
100%. So, as you sort of touched on, as the A-League launched in 2005, you signed on to become a member of Sydney FC's inaugural playing squad. How was it that you managed to slip through the net of Adelaide United's recruiters and joined a club that donned the nickname Bling FC after the lucrative signing of Dwight Yorke?
That's right. Basically, just again, like in football, these things just kind of come to fruition themselves. My agent at the time was the head recruiter for Sydney FC, basically. Okay. So he gave me a call fairly early. Of course, he asked the coaching staff about me first. I think it was Ian Crook that was there, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead and sign him." So the agent that was looking after me was also had some involvement with Sydney FC. Was he looking after me? Anyway, he was a friend of mine that we would stay in contact with anyway. So and he had a lot to do with moving players to Scotland as well. So yeah, he gave me a call and he said Sydney FC are interested in you, and then kind of sold me in terms of how things were going to be set up and progress from there. And he was true to his word. He said he was going to, they were going to sign marquee players. They wanted to be the biggest club in Australia. They had these massive ambitions. They were going to sign a marquee coach. The players that they had already signed were first-class players in Steve Corica, Fuktale, Rudes, these senior players, Alvin Checkley and the likes, So it was a no-brainer for me. I was going to go to a team with great senior players, and a marquee coach in Pierre Littbarski, World Cup winner and been involved in the German setup for a number of years. And of course, they were looking to sign a marquee player in terms of Dwight Yorke. But they had, at that stage, they had about 10 names, and each one of them would have been fantastic. So I think they picked the right one in the end.
Makes a lot of sense why you went then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So obviously you went on to claim the maiden A-League championship with Sydney FC that season, and remained with the club for a further 3 seasons, in which you experienced several spicy encounters against the Reds in particular. There was also that electrifying friendly against David Beckham's LA Galaxy, in which you managed to score as well in that game. Can you sum up your time for us as a Sydney FC player? Obviously, 4 seasons there.
Yeah, really enjoyable. Obviously, the first year, had the icing on the cake in terms of winning the premiership or the championship. I remember a lot of heated battles with Adelaide United personally, because obviously it was it was my hometown team.
Yeah, for sure. It meant a lot for you.
Yeah, it meant a lot. And it was a time when it was still coming off the back of the old school NSL days. So you had a lot of
old heads
that were used to the old school, you know. So they didn't mind leaving their foot in every now and again. And there was a lot of confrontation. I remember that year, it was like game after game was like confrontations and people getting involved and getting a little bit too angry, but there was a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, and a lot of real winners that wanted to win on both teams. Like Sydney and Adelaide always had massive battles.
We did, yeah. Also a massive amount of big blues. I'm assuming that you have a lot of great memories
for
from
sure.
as well.
Had some great memories of some big blues. I remember.
Dare I say they were bigger and spicier back then than they are now?
They were, yeah. They had a lot riding on it. A lot of players knew each other, obviously personally, but like I said to you, and no disrespect to the current group of young lads and young players coming through, but back then it was that old school mentality. It was one in, all in. It was a battle. there was some great footballers, don't get me wrong, great football played, but it was a real tough encounters, so I always remember there was always like tackles flying in and players getting sent off or something like that. And I think the two teams that obviously we bumped headwards the most was Adelaide United and Melbourne Victory. I remember we went there once and I think we lost 3-2 to Melbourne Victory, but I think there was 2 send-offs and there was about 40,000 people there, and we were going to go back there in 2 or 3 weeks, I think. And then straight away it was a sellout, 50,000 people, thinking this is great, this is going to be another one of those games. And it was a boring 0-0 draw. So
I recall that one. Yeah. The one that springs to mind most for me, I'm quite certain you played in it. You went there and you went 2-0 up, and I think Brendan Gann might have scored.
Yes.
A couple of the young lads, and you went 2-0 up inside 10 minutes or something like that. And then I think you ended up still winning the game.
Right.
But it was just, off the chain really.
Yeah, I do know that,
Yeah, that really summed up most Big Blues and, just that classic peak A-League era kind of thing, which you were, very much part of the furniture in. So
that's great.
Great experiences. Also just want to ask you quickly, Sydney always was kind of the experimental club, always trying to be the biggest and the best. I also liked during season 2 when they went with Bruno Casarin. He was a real baller. He came in quite old, but he was one of the Janino's another one. One of the many big names that you got to play with at Sydney. What was that experience like under Terry Butcher, I think, in that era?
Yeah, I don't think I played with Bruno, but I think that after Yorkie left, we got Janino.
Yeah.
World Cup winner, and then obviously a legend at Middlesbrough and back home in his country, Brazil. So, and then we had Pierre left. I think, Pierre was a great coach, and it would have been great to try and keep him, but I think it was been widely reported at the time our budget was a little bit excessive.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of tone that down a little bit. So a few people had to go roll for various reasons. So, as much as brilliant as having Pierre and Yorkie was there, we should have kept them. We should have definitely kept them. If we kept them, we would have continued our success. There's no doubt about that. As football is, of course, people come and go all the time. So, unfortunately, they left. Terry Butcher came in, who had obviously different methods on how the style of football and how he wanted to get results. And then we had Janino as well. So Janino was great, brilliant player, brilliant to play with. Done some magical things on the field. It's truly amazing that a guy like that, at that shape and size, at training, you could not get the ball off him. And I wouldn't say that likely. You could not get the ball off this guy.
In Australian summer as well.
Exactly right, yeah. And it just goes to show, it doesn't matter. This is what's great about our game. It doesn't matter what size you are, what shape you are, if you're slow, if you're fast. You can become a footballer. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
if you're technically gifted,
for sure,
kind of means
for sure. Yeah, he's the epitome of that. So great to play with him. Terry, I think, gets a bad.
Got good results, didn't he?
He got good results.
For all the stick he got. Yeah.
It's the stick he got. It's a stigma that came with it. Obviously, he's a coach that he came from Scotland. I think he came from Motherwell.
Yeah.
And he comes from that old school English mentality. So some of his methods were questionable. There's no doubt about that. So the media had a right to kind of question what he was doing. But at the same time, he got results. I think he was a really honest guy, honest man. You could have an argument with him one day and it'd be forgotten about the next, which is a real good.
Yeah, you don't want grudges with coaches.
A real good characteristic to have. Yeah, you could bump heads with him. We had senior players that would argue with him. The next day, he would forget about it and he'd move on. He would hold no grudges. He had some great qualities. It's easy to forget that when you think of that style of coach. But unfortunately, the way that we wanted Australian football to push forward was a more technical style, a more modern
football.
Modern football, yeah. Like whereas yes, he was getting results, but it was coming from a place where we were trying to get out of. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, of course. No, it makes perfect sense. Well, with respect, enough of that mob. So we're going to get into the Adelaide United era. So you joined our club to commence the 2009-10 A-League pre-season. You had a terrific first season with the club, featuring an all but one game throughout that year. However, it ended up being a very challenging season from a team perspective, and was ultimately Relay Vidmar's last season with the club after the highs of the previous season, which granted you weren't there for, but nevertheless, why do you believe things went so pear-shaped for Adelaide United in that season?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember the season. It was a tricky season. It was we were doing all right, but
you actually started with 2 wins as well.
Yeah, we were doing all right, you know, but we just couldn't quite get the results. Probably personnel changes. I think you probably had a few characters that had left. Big Sasha left. I think he was a big personality for the club.
Huge loss.
Yeah. Coming off the back of success, it's always tough to back it up in the A-League when you get other teams looking at that going, well, you know, we want that. So probably a long season as well. You know, I think it was coming off the Champions League.
Yeah, and also we had a longer season because it was the first year of Fury and Gold Coast.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then those seasons happen. You know, it's probably personnel in the end.
Things like Lloyd Owusu didn't quite work.
Lloydie didn't work. Some signings didn't really work. You know, Lloydie came off the back of, you watch some of Lloydie's highlights and you're like, man, this guy can score.
You know? You where the back of the net was.
But he ended up again. I think he got pneumonia at the start, and he had a bad run of injuries, and he just got off on a bad foot. Also, I think Nick Bianco, I think he had to, like the year that I came as well, he unfortunately had to pull out. He was a big character for the club, massive for the club.
FFA were keeping the lights on in that season.
That's exactly right.
Probably worth mentioning.
Yes, that's right. So it was all that. It was like a big melting pot again of all these negative kind of factors that wasn't really the club's fault, but it wasn't Viddy's fault. It was just one of those. You know, Viddy just came off, you know, the situation with, you know, Asian Champions and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was a combination of everything. Personnel, obviously, Bianco had to leave, or you know, he had to leave the setup. The FFA taking over. You know, coming off the back of a very long season, previous season. You know, all those things. You know.
Just
contribute. Well, I mean, it sucks that, you know, they're not excuses, and the players wouldn't see them as excuses at the time, but looking back on it, you know, 10, 15 years later, you go, well, yeah, that's probably would have contributed.
Sure. How did the club go about bringing you home? Was it a case of basically trying to persuade you that, you know, good signings would come in and you wouldn't be missing out on anything in Adelaide that you otherwise might think you would have been by staying in Sydney? Was it just the home factor? You know, what were you sort of weighing up in your mind at the time?
Yeah, it was a little bit of the home factor. You know, it wasn't like that wasn't a major factor in the decision, just a little bit, you know. I was enjoying my time in Sydney. I had a contract on the table there from them. I had one on the table from Adelaide United. I think it was a 3-year deal at the time. And you know, in saying that, like my life in Sydney was like, it was brilliant life, but you know, I was living in Bondi. I was, you know, going for a surf before training.
That's a dream.
I know, it's a brilliant dream. It was a brilliant lifestyle, and I loved it, and heaps of great friends there still. But for me, it was about more so moving on in my life, you know, coming back to Adelaide, saving a bit of money, buying a house, doing these kind of things, setting up my life a little bit more.
For sure.
It was a 3-year deal. I think Sydney FC offered me a 2-year deal.
Okay.
All these things come into play, you know. And then obviously what I'm thinking is I'm signing into this, you know, I'm speaking to a few lads there and they go, man, it's brilliant. Nick Bianco's he looks after us all the time. We go here, we go there, we do this, we do that. The team's so together, you know. The success that the team was having, well, I want to be part of that success as well. It's my hometown club. I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to play for Adelaide United one day. Here was an opportunity to do it, and then I signed. And then as soon as not long after I signed, obviously everything changed, you know.
Yeah,
So
sure.
so yeah, it was definitely a real learning curve in terms of a year for me and for the club, but all part of the history now, you know.
No regrets coming home?
Not at all. Never any regrets. Never. Very rarely do I get regrets in my life, you know. So, and if I do, you just got to push on with whenever you're kind of dwelling a little bit. Think, well, I wonder if that. You just got to push on, don't you? You know what I mean?
For sure, and I don't think, even though the following season they won the championship, I don't think in that season Sydney had a particularly good year either. So
yeah,
it might not have been the worst decision at all in the end. Anyway, so Fyfey 2010-11 under Rinnie Coolin, undoubtedly a far greater season for us. We witnessed the development of current Socceroo star Matthew Leckie and Argentine Marcos Flores. Even though you were out the door in January of 2011, do you believe, given the quality of the squad that we had during this season, that we drastically underachieved?
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We should have really realised what we had that year. Again, it was just pieces fell into place. You know, we had this young kid coming through called Matthew Leckie. It was like, man, this guy's quick. I remember him turning me once in training, and I went, how did he get from there to there? You know, like he just, at that stage he was really raw.
Mm-hmm.
His touch wasn't the best, you know, he still had a lot to work on, but what he did have was raw speed, raw power, and you could see that in games when he turned on and, you know, scored that great goal and things like that. So, great having like when you got young kids like that coming through. I think we had a couple of other young kids as well that were fairly decent, and then the players again that we had. Marcos came in. There was, you know, a different element. This guy was like playmaker now. He could set up goals. We had a good setup. We had Travis, we had Matthew Leckie, and then we had Marcos here. So when you've got two great wingers, you're actually playing to Marcos' strengths. He likes to get it, have a little look, you know, Trav knows what he's doing. They had a great connection, you know. Sometimes they didn't even have to look. Marcos would get it, Travis would already be on his bike. He wouldn't even look, and he'd just play it through, you know. When you've got things like that in your team, then you've got to really understand that, you know, there's going to be success, and then there's capitalising on that success. And we weren't able to really do that. We should have done a lot better. I think after 12 games, we were top of the league. I think we went to Melbourne and lost.
4-1.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. When who was it? I think it might have been Leckie actually. Got absolutely butchered by one of the victory fullbacks. He was out for a while. Anyway, I want to ask you quickly. It must have been a real competitive feel in that squad because we had an abundance of centre backs. It was the likes of you, Nigel Bogard, Robbie Cornthwaite, all running around. Did it feel like that at all from coming from where you stood? Or?
It did feel competitive because you had a few really good. Well, yeah, we had a good squad, so there was always going to be good players left out or playing out of position, things like that. But you need that. You need first of all, you need that competitiveness, but also you need blokes that aren't playing or are on the bench to want to be in the first team, but also happy for the team to continue to win. You know, that's what you need. You need this like strange mix of that to be successful. So we had that. We had a lot of boys that got along with each other really well. And once you got that, you got like that good culture, and then you've got good players, and then you've got that competitive nature, then that's what's going to drive that success. And we fell, you know, at the final hurdle, so to speak. But we should have really pushed on and done something that year.
As we know, you departed in January. It wasn't meant to be, but your last game ended up being that ridiculous 8-1 win against North Queensland Fury. One of the most extraordinary games we've ever seen at Cooper Stadium. Was it one of the craziest games you've ever been a part of?
Yeah, it was. I remember, I think Serge got a hat-trick, didn't he?
I think Flores and... Yeah, Serge as well. Yeah, Trav as well. I think so too, yeah. Goal scorers all over the place.
Yeah, but we conceded one. I was not happy about that.
Yeah?
Yeah, no.
Perfectionist.
It really, I remember it annoying me. You know, it annoyed. I think I was playing with, might have been Bogues. Like, I remember we were really upset, and I think Bogues had a crack at someone. And I was like, looked at him like, "What are you on about? Like, you know, we're 8-1 up. Like, relax." And we were just like, "Are you kidding me? You can see," because it would have been better. 8-0 would have been better, you know.
For sure.
Defenders have always got that mentality, you know. And I think we came off like pretty happy, but also a little bit annoyed, you know, like a little bit annoyed that we conceded.
As previously mentioned, you secured a transfer to the Korean K-League with Busan IPARK. Here's what you said after the transfer was confirmed. "I've always had an ambition to play overseas, and this is a great opportunity to do that. It was a really tough decision to make, leaving Adelaide at this time with the club in a good position to try to win the championship, but opportunities like this don't come around every day. It's a step forward in my career, and I've got no doubt my teammates here can win the A-League title without me." Despite having played your fair share of Asian Champions League football prior to this, this must have been a really kind of new experience for you going over to Korea.
Yeah, it was. I think at that time there was a little bit of talk around a lot of centre halves, Corny, Bogues in our team, myself, you know, the other centre halves. I think, you know, sometimes Korean teams are just they just like go, "We want Australian centre halves," and then all the agents are like, "Here are our Australian centre halves," and then they kind of get to pick.
It's a perfect fit, isn't it?
It is. Good experience, man. Like, I went over there. It just sucked the timing of it, you know, because I think I missed out. That was the last game of the season, maybe, or we had to play Gold Coast in the.
Yeah, so Gold Coast beat us in the finals.
That's right.
That was and GT as well. Thanks, Bruce. That was around mid-February mark. So there might have been one or two other games that you missed out on, but majority of the season you were at the club. So obviously understandable that you're a little bit frustrated you couldn't be there the whole time, but obviously the opportunity was too great to pass up.
Yeah, at the time it was the right decision for me. Ended up spending a year there. Very difficult year, to be honest with you. Like, it was like
fairly big club as well.
Big club, big city, big club, big stadium. But we had a guy who the coach was a really good guy. They called him the Terminator though. They called him the Terminator.
Doesn't sound good.
Why do they call him the Terminator? Found out pretty quickly why. You know, the guy was just a machine. He had us training, and I've spoken to other guys, you know, Corny and that, who were over there at the time as well. And I'm like, "Man, how many times do you train?" He's like, "Once a day." I'm like, "We train 3 times a day." We were training 3 times a day. Morning, then we'd eat. Obviously, at the club they had like cafeteria, lunchroom, and then the boys would sleep for an hour, wake up, and then train again in the afternoon. But the thing about Koreans is their work ethic is so good that I would wake up for training and half of these boys were already in the gym, like doing extra work. So they would train in the morning, would eat, sleep, gym, extra work, train again for 2 hours, and then lunch, and then lunch, and then sleep, and then in the afternoon, at 6 o'clock at night, we would train again for an hour.
So I've never heard of that.
It's crazy. And so I had an apartment that was maybe about 20 minutes away, something like that. I ended up sleeping at the club through that period of time, which was half the time I was there. So I had a room at the club as well. They have old dormitories and everything near there. I ended up sleeping at the club for half the time I was there. My missus at the time would come over for 3-month visa and then head back and then come over again. So when she wasn't there, I would 100% just sleep at the club. There was no point. I was too tired to drive home. I remember being too tired to drive home.
It's like a different world from High Marsh for an hour.
Yep, it was. And I thought, this is okay. I can do this. I'm fit, strong, mentally tough. But it was just constant, and I was just coming off the back of a season really as well. So I was straight into another pre-season and then into a season. So it was a tough year physically for me. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot of coaching techniques. I learned a lot of about Asian playing, in Asia and the Asian style and mentality and things like that. So
you were about 28ish around the time?
Yeah, I reckon I was about 28. Yeah, 28, 29 or something like that. Yeah. So a great learning experience. Again, the time there was, I enjoyed my actual lifestyle there and everything like that. The city was great. It was by the sea. It was wonderful. There was met heaps of friends, and again, friends that I stay in contact to this day. But yeah, there was also during the year, I remember we went into they had like a auditorium where we'd watch the games and things like that. And the club, and Shin was there. Remember Shin from Adelaide United?
Shin In-seob.
Yeah.
How could we forget,
man? Oh man, he was like my translator. I was so lucky to have him over there.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was great.
So it was useful for one thing in the end.
It was great, man. He was great for me. He was such a nice kid, you know. And we went into this auditorium thing. I said, Shin, when are we coming in here for? And he went, oh, there's
Shin? Like how?
That's strange, eh? And he was like, oh, there's big problems. I said, what? He said, players in our team have taken bribes.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I was like, really? And he said, yeah, because there was like some young keeper from another team had committed suicide because the mafia over there were holding something over him. Something like, I didn't know anything about this, but yeah, some syndicate or something like that were approaching players. And so we went into the meeting, and then we had to. I was like, "Where's like there was two players missing." I was like, "Where are they?" She was like, "Oh, you'll find out in a second." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then the coach brought them in, and they had to stand in front of everyone and admit that they had been taking bribes.
Wow, that's intense, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so. I don't know if it's for that year or for previous years, but I think it was for that year. And then we ended up having to go to this big seminar in the mountains, like all the teams. So Corny was there, and there was a few other like foreigners there that we knew, and a couple of Aussies and that. Luke DeVere was there, yeah, and we had to go there, and then they worked out there was like 20 players that they had taken these bribes, you know, or something like that, you know. I don't know the mate. I kind of just went, oh right, yeah, and then got on with it. But
so this must have been completely new to you. Like, I mean, you wouldn't have known this side of football.
No, not at all. I've never been through anything like that before. So, and it was you understanding dribs and drabs of it, you know, the basics. But I didn't know all about it, but that was basically what was going on. So this was a different experience, another learning curve about world football. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not all, you know, beautiful Foxtel and beautiful TV and this and that, and great pictures and, you know, and everyone, you know, everything above board here in Australia. Of course, no one would ever do that, you know. But in these countries, these things happen. So it's, you know, it's again, you know, it's learning about football. It's learning about life. Mm-hmm. It's trusting people, you know, following your own judgments and things like this. You know, so again, it was kind of like, it wasn't a smooth year, but you can't expect to go over there for everything to be smooth. So you got to stay focused on your football, focused on getting fit, focused on training 3 times a day.
Absolutely, mate. So in 2012-13, under a manager you'd had previously at Sydney FC and John Cosmina, we were lucky enough to see you return in a Reds shirt. You managed a healthy 23 games that season as well. How'd you enjoy your second stint at the club?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I always enjoy playing for Adelaide United. My frustrating thing was I'd been involved in a championship winning team, and I knew what it took. And players in Adelaide United, a lot of those seasons that I was there, would be doing their own thing. They'd be interested in trying to get another contract, trying to do this, trying to start. There was too many internal politics in the team. I can't speak for anything else, but in the team there was too many internal politics when I was there. So it was never cohesive. We had such a good squad as well that year. You know, we had Dario, we had, you know,
was it Marcelo and Ferreira and all them as well?
Exactly, yeah. Geronimo was handy, you know. These players, we had a good team, you know. So Hughesy, Reedy, but there was always things working against us that were created by the players themselves. We could never get to a point where everyone was reading from the same page, and that annoyed me. That was the biggest frustration of playing for Adelaide United for me. These things would always be in the change room, and I hated it.
We've always long suspected that this has happened in our history, but not too many people have really confronted the issue head on. Are you saying that it was more prevalent during this particular time that you were there, or during both stints?
I'd probably say it was more prevalent there, in that time.
Yeah.
So it was tough for Cozzy,
So just for context, obviously Cozzy resigned January. I think it was after a heavy defeat away to the Wanderers. And then Mickey Balcanis came in, did his best to steady the ship, and we ended up making finals, losing to Brisbane Roar in the end, in the first elimination final. But again, you'd have to say, kind of reeked of that 2010-11, having such a decent squad and just not hitting the marks that we really should have.
Yeah, well, I don't think it takes a genius to work it out. We should have done a lot better. But I'm sure there was rumours flying around at that stage that things were not,
as they
smooth as they should be. Everyone pulling in the right direction to win a championship. So you got to put your ego aside sometimes, or your differences aside. Greater players than us have done it and won things, at better levels. So why couldn't we have done that? Everyone. I'm not saying that people didn't want to win things. All the characters wanted to win.
The experience,
you really need to find this balance to be able to say, okay, we have our differences, but ultimately we want the same goal. So therefore, we can put that aside for 90 minutes, and then concentrate and focus on winning trophies. And I don't think we were quite able to do that.
I can completely understand your frustration because we started so well again. I think we went at least 4 or 5 games unbeaten to start the season, and then there were some great results that we had throughout that year. And then when that sort of midway point of the season came, it all just became a bit of a train wreck. So I can completely understand your frustration because again, you must have been thinking, right, back at my hometown club, and surely, I'm in the strongest position that I could have ever been in to win another championship with my hometown team. And it just didn't quite go on the end.
Yeah, I think when you look at the team, like Cassio, know what I mean?
At his peak as well.
At his peak, the best left back I think probably ever.
Yeah.
We had great other players. Fabes was like a running machine. We just had great players that I think they'll agree, looking back on it, if we just found a way to sort those little differences out between ourselves, then who knows what could happen. Because we did have some great characters in that team, like big characters, big, huge and things like that. So frustrating looking back on it, because I should, from a personal and a selfish point of view, I should have got another one. I should have got another championship. There's no doubt about that. With that team, when I look back on that team, if I look back at that 11 or the whole squad, I say, man, we should have won something with that.
Totally understandable. Well, I think when your second transfer was confirmed, going to Iran this time, kind of took everyone by surprise a little bit this time around. Were all the things you've just mentioned contributing factors to the move away, or was it just another good opportunity that came up?
Yeah, but two reasons. Yeah, one was I kind of had enough of it. I kind of had enough of just I would say talking behind people's, a lot of people talking behind people's backs. A lot of people doing that kind of thing. Which is natural in football clubs, it's going to happen. But again, ultimately, you'll never win anything when things are like that. You might get your own way eventually, and what you're trying to do. But you're never going to ultimately win anything, have those great memories or do anything like that. So a little bit of that, a little bit of like, all right, I've had enough of this, and then a little bit of just financial. You know, it was just an opportunity. I looked at myself. I thought, I'm 31. I think I was 31 or 32. I thought if I can go over there, jag a few years over there, then that might be good enough for me, you know.
And it looked like a real adventurous kind of move as well. I mean, it really kind of almost cemented you as being a real journeyman. Like Iran, like, you know, it's still today, you don't get many Aussies going there.
I still think, what was I thinking sometimes, you know? But again, like at that point in time, I remember I spoke to my family about it. I spoke to my dad about it, and they're like, don't go. I'm like, I'm going.
Just that stigma of like politically insecure kind of thing.
It was a good deal. Like that's what swayed me. You know, it was a good financial deal. And at the time,
and it's not like a bad level. It's quite a high level.
It's a very good level. Like you know, there was a lot of massive games over there. We played, you know, cup finals and you know, the
massive crowds as
massive crowds, yeah, 30, 40, 50,000 old men in the stadium. It was a very intimidating atmosphere. Great experience. But yeah, at the time I was just like, I'm going to do it because I had a young family. My little fella was just born, and my focus was like
setting yourself up a bit,
trying to set myself up a bit. In hindsight, I should have waited. What I should have done was continue to play for Adelaide United, and then got to a certain stage where I was like 32, 33. Adelaide United would have said, thanks very much. We got Jordan Yelsey coming through, brilliant. And then I could have went to Malaysia for a couple of years or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think in hindsight that would have been a better move for me.
More common move.
Yeah, more common move. But sometimes I just go, yeah, I'm doing it, you know.
Break the rules a bit.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. I love it, in fact. So you came back 2014, signed at Campbelltown, and then you intermittently went and played at Newcastle Jets for a brief stint, 2016. On and off at Campbelltown, where you remain today. Just talk us through how the last 5 years have been, obviously including that third A-League club that you signed for in Newcastle.
Yeah. So I remember when I got back from Iran, obviously happy to get home.
So it was one season there.
Yeah, just one season. Yeah. Again, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of great stories I could tell you about.
I can only imagine.
A lot of the I mean, you can imagine. Yeah, got back. Got a phone call from Joe Mullen. He said, "Fyfey, what are you doing? Do you want to come down to the club?" I said, "I don't know, Joe. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. You know, we'll see what happens." So why don't you come down just train for a little bit? I said, "Yeah, good call." So I started training, and then. Again, it was just a discussion that I had. I think I was 32 at the time, something like that. And then just a discussion that I had with my family. And after being away for so long, it was like a lot of footballers, like at the A-League level, will go away for a year or two. When you do go away, it's not like glitz and glamour stuff. There's a lot of like times when it's
a tedious thing.
Tedious, like, all right, when are we trying? All right, well, I'll watch another series or something like that. You know, like I'll watch, you know, whatever, Entourage or something like that. And you're watching telly, and then, you know, and then you're going for walks, and then you're going for coffees. That's okay, that's great, but when it's repetitive,
there's no novelty to it.
It's like, and then you train, and then training. It's not like you're training with your mates, or. You know, you build you do build friendships, but it's like, you know, broken English and this and that, and little jokes here and there, and then, you know, so there can be a lot of hard times. So when you do get back, you really do enjoy what we have here in Australia a lot more, and so
the culture's important, isn't it?
Culture's important for sure. So yeah, back in Adelaide, happy to be back. And a little bit like of the mindset of wanting to settle a little bit more now, settle my life down. I had opportunities again to go to like those Southeast Asian countries, but again it was just a time where I wanted to settle, wanted to stay, have my young family. Went over there, made a little bit of money. Okay, now it's time to come back and just settle in a little bit more. So yeah, got the call from Joe. I was living in Tranmere. and then Campbelltown was like 7 minutes away. So I was all right. Yeah, I'll come down.
Made perfect sense.
Yep. Ended up signing for them for the following season, and then have not probably one of the best signings. Probably the best signing I've ever done in my life. You know. Really enjoyable football. I mean, of course, I speak about the club in such high regard and everyone down there. 5 years now. So that's been fantastic. During that time, obviously had the stint in Newcastle, which came up I think for 6 weeks, 6-week injury replacement. And again, you know, being around the traps, I knew most players. I knew, you know, the coach. I knew the, you know, CEO for 10 years as well, like Laurie. So I've known him since Northern Spirit days. So, you know, I was going into an environment where, you know, I knew everyone, and it was another little challenge for me. And just a really good fun time. I just wish I was a little bit more fitter, because it came in the off season a little bit, and I think I just got back from Bali with the family, so I had a few bingtangs over there. And then it was like, as you do,
be rude not to.
hot place, you know. And then it was kind of like, into Newcastle. And I think Jonesy said to me, "Do you want to play like this week?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll play. Let's do it." And then I think we drew maybe against Central Coast in that first game. So, enjoyed my time. Love the city. Love Newcastle. Like I said, had a lot of mates there. And just wanting to have fun, enjoy. Like, if that was going to be my last A-League kind of games and time, I remember thinking I want to enjoy every single moment, you know. So, and that's what I got to do. I kind of got to have a little bit of an A-League swan song. You know, like we discussed previously, it could have continued, you know, either there or somewhere else. But again, sometimes you got to follow your gut feeling, and the timing was right for me to just wrap that up a little bit and come back to Campbelltown.
Now, really well summed up. I've got to ask this, Ian, because it kind of fascinates me, and you're in the same pool as the likes of Robbie Cornthwaite, even Danny Mullen, of still being at this age, and for you in particular, you've just come from playing at one of the most elite countries in the Asian Confederation, and then suddenly NPL. So, you know, it's down to what you want to do, and obviously you've got perfectly good reasons for sort of coming to that point where you decide that you don't want to be a professional anymore. But at an age where you're still so capable, you know, you can understand why so many people sort of struggle to understand why it is that you don't want to keep going. And maybe it's a self-centered kind of notion, but maybe it's also because so many players in Australia do tend to play into their mid to late 30s as well, particularly centre halves. I don't know what it is, but you know, you can understand why a lot of fans must think, well, he's 32, kind of what's he doing, if you know what I mean. And Danny Mullen's the same thing as well. He's only 29, playing Campbelltown NPL. And again, it's no disrespect to the level of the competition, but maybe it says a lot about Campbelltown and the culture of Campbelltown that you guys were able to arrive at this decision. But at the same time, people who perhaps aren't close to Campbelltown or don't watch the NPL, they must be scratching their heads.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, because when I played A-League, I didn't really take much notice of the NPL, to be honest with you. Like, but now I'm playing NPL, and then I'm like, man, if I was playing A-League, I would look at NPL a lot more. I know a lot of the players do now, you know. But I think it's got better and better over the years. You know, the quality of games sometimes, and you know, our football in particular, Campbelltown, and our training sessions. I've spoken to people who have been involved at A-League level training sessions, like Joe, obviously myself, Dan, Stubbsy, you know, and we all said this is just as good intensity, you know, and quality. You know, obviously just not as consistent, but some of the sessions that we put on, I go, this is great, you know. In terms of just you know, moving on with things, everyone's got different things going on in their life as well. You might be getting married, you might be having a family, you might be studying at the same time, and then it's kind of a good way of moving into the next stage of your life and the next stage of your career. Because you understand that you can't play football forever. I'd love to play till I'm 50.
Transitions inevitable.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So, and at the same time, I'm 37 now. Say I had that little Newcastle stint when I was 33, I've been doing it. I think I played for Adelaide City when I was. Sometimes I tell these boys that, like in Campbelltown, I played NSL, and Joe would reference a coach that we both had. Obviously Zoran, and some of what he would used to say, and and I think, man, I'm old, like in a footballing sense, because I think I played like about 70 games for Adelaide City in the old NSL. And then I played another 25 games for Sydney Olympic in the old NSL. So when I look back on it, could I have continued my career at an A-League level? Yeah, if I really wanted to push for it and make calls and demand and say, I'll take whatever. And yeah, definitely I could have. Could I have continued it overseas and things like that? 100%. But I don't know, things in life happen. Like at the time, like I said, I had a young family, I had a young boy. And it was just felt time, and all different factors come into play when you make these decisions.
Oh, of course. I think from my sort of psyche, it's more just the fact that like you didn't wind down from like a 6-week contract at Newcastle Jets. It was literally playing in a run where some of the biggest clubs in Asia are going around, and then suddenly you're in the NPL. So I think that's the head scratcher. If you don't know what I'm saying. But obviously you've thoroughly explained the reasons why you decided to step down from having your professional career. So in any sense, obviously you've had a fantastic time in Campbelltown. Again, just won the NPL. I think you've won it 3 or 4 times in the last
3, yeah.
3, yeah. As well as at a national level as well. So obviously the glory that you've had there speaks for itself, and it's proven to be a fantastic decision to wind down with the Red Devils of Campbelltown. That brings us into the preview, mate. So jumping straight into the preview, this Friday night, Fyfey, it's a 7 p.m. kickoff against Sydney FC. You can catch all the action on Fox Sports. Now, at the time of filming, there's no squad listings, though I'm unaware of any pressing injuries within our squad at least. Fyfey, the burning questions, let's jump straight into them. So, straight off the bat for Adelaide is the signing of local product and former Socceroo James Torrisi on a 2-year deal. Should he be thrown straight in, and how vital do you think Torrisi's signing is for Adelaide United this season?
Throw him in if he was fit. Yeah. I'd say play your best team, and he's obviously brings real quality. So I'd throw him in 100%. I think he's a great little piece of the jigsaw for Adelaide United. What was the other part of the question?
How important do you think it's going to be this year?
Oh yeah, hugely important. Yeah. Get him fit, make sure injury free. I think he has the ability to really unlock defences. I think he'll be settled here, in Adelaide. I think he's Adelaide boy, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Assuming he, and I don't know how much you sort of looked into the balance of the team, but assuming he's a regular starter, how much can you trust this midfield? Because Mirko Boland can't particularly cover the whole ground on his own, and then you've got Riley McGree, who's more attacking than he's defensive. So, assuming it's the classic triangle midfield, can you really trust this midfield, particularly when it's coming down to grinding out results?
I think you nailed it. I think Mirko will be the key, because Riley, if you let him do his thing, man, he can really be something special this year. He adds a lot of goals, huge amount of quality, huge talent. I really hope he has a good year, pushes himself into that national team setup. So really, it's just that third piece of the puzzle. If he can control things, break things down, and start things, make that position his own. Again, it comes down to fitness, displaying a level of confidence that your teammates kind of vibe into, then that should be okay. But They got a lot of work to do because there's some good midfields around the tracks at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So the stats don't look good for us, Fyfey. Your old Sky Blue Mob are undefeated in their last 9 A-League games against Adelaide United, keeping 7 clean sheets in that time and conceding just 2 goals. 5 of the last 9 A-League games between Adelaide and Sydney FC at Cooper Stadium have ended in draws, and with each team picking up 2 wins in that time. Sydney FC are also undefeated in their last 6 round 1 fixtures in the A-League, including a 1-1 draw with Adelaide United to open the round last season. Before I ask you what I really want to ask you, we've got Sydney FC in round 1 again. It's not the first time.
How does this happen?
Is this becoming like because Adelaide and Sydney aren't the biggest of rivals, but it's still a healthy rivalry, like good curtain raiser kind of thing for the rest of the season? Like, is that the kind of thinking behind that, do you think?
I think so. I think it's always like 2 teams that I enjoy watching. Like, if you throw me a Wellington Central Coast, I'll probably miss that one.
Yeah.
But if you Adelaide Sydney is always one that catches my eye. I think it's always competitive games. 2 good teams, 2 traditional teams that like to play attacking football, like to score goals. I think it's a great season opener, to be honest with you. Hopefully the crowd turn up. It's a good day for it as well. It's going to be tough to make a call on who's going to win, because Adelaide coming in with a little bit of confidence off of the FFA Cup.
Totally.
Yeah, and
Sydney having strengthened so well.
Sydney walking in as champions from the previous year, and always confident. So tough one, mate. I don't know where you're at.
Yeah, I want to ask you about these stats that I wrote off before. As a past player who played at the highest level for so long, how much should we really look into these historical stats on the cusp of a new season psychologically? Do players look into it at all?
I think it plays its role for sure, subconsciously. It's always good getting a good feel of the game in the first 5-10 minutes. Sometimes you feel like everyone's on, you've had a good warm up, prepared well, and then just that feeling that you get, and you're like, yeah, we're on today. That always makes it a little bit easier. Who settles quicker? So maybe, like you said, subconsciously, I think it would play on your mind, but in the forefront of your mind, I think it doesn't matter at all, And like I said, you're just focusing on getting a good result in the end.
Sure thing. So Alexander Baum-Johan, Costa Barbarouses, Luke Braddon, and South Australian, who I'm sure you know, Ryan McGowan, are the big names coming in for the Sky Blues this season to help them defend their crown. How do you rate their recruitment in comparison to ours?
Who do we recruit?
So you're looking at the likes of Christian Opseth up front, relatively unknown quantity, did score bags of goals across the Scandinavian leagues. You're looking at Michael Maria, who's very young, hasn't played at too much of a high level at all, can play more of a utility, sort of left back, left midfield kind of material, but more or less a utility. James Teresi, as we've just mentioned, Riley McGree is another one, and there's probably one that I'm missing there.
We're not done too bad, all right. Yeah. Obviously McGree, Teresi for me are the big ones, which is great because both South Australian boys. Where we've always struggled to recruit since probably Serge Van Dijk is
the 9,
a 15 to 20 goals a season kind of guy, who's going to score you those goals no matter what. He's going to find a way. He's going to be in the right spot at the right time. He's going to win games. Some games when you might be under the pump away somewhere, and he's just going to turn and hit one, and it's going to, and you're going to win 1-0. You're going to jag a win. Things like that.
Sure.
We need a 15 to 20 goal a season. This is so evident. The problem with Adelaide United compared to Sydney is we can't just go, okay, we'll get a marquee player for 1.5 million.
Adam Lafondra, perfect example.
Exactly right, yeah. Or a little bit under that, we'll look elsewhere for a higher level of standard player and give him $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, whatever. We have to look a little bit under that and try and get a bit of a gem that has been going under the radar a little bit. So in the past, that's what's happened. It's been a bit hit and miss, which I can imagine the fans would be frustrated from that. But let's see. You know, you got to give these guys full opportunity. So, you know, the foreigner that's came in and you know, hopefully he's confident and ready to go and scores a lot of goals for Adelaide United. But that's the difference. I mean, Sydney can always recruit well. They have the means, they have the funds,
location to sell.
Location, you know. Another thing is, you know, great setup, training ground, etc. I know Adelaide United have their training ground. Yeah, very good. But it's a whole box and dice with Sydney FC at the moment. You know, so if you're a foreign player and you get a deal from both teams, probably they're going to sway towards Sydney a little bit. So, you know, they can recruit, you know, better quality players, but, you know, Adelaide United's staff and backroom staff, coaching staff, he comes from Europe, so I'm sure he has an idea of what kind of player that he wants, and then for a budget that they can afford.
It's funny you say that on the whole 9 issue though, because and I agree with you wholeheartedly, but Bruce Jitte, when they unveiled the new striker Christian Opseth, said he'd prefer someone that comes in and scores a handful of goals in a year but contributes across the park as well as anyone else does, and that leads to some kind of silverware or a really strong finish, as opposed to someone that scores 20 goals and the team doesn't reach the heights that they want to achieve. What are your thoughts on his take on it?
I understand where he's coming from. I think he's being very diplomatic.
Yes,
which he's very good at. which is fine. Which you have to be in that role, and you have to look at all the players, and it's a collective effort. I understand where he's coming from, 100%. But ultimately, I think the fans want a hero. Don't you want a hero?
Absolutely.
Like, you look at these massive teams around the world. Tottenham, you got Harry Kane. You know, you look at Man City, you got Aguero,
sure.
Messi, Ronaldo, whatever. These guys are in the teams. Okay, we're talking about completely different levels, but my point is, here you've got a Bruno Fornarola, you've got a Berisha, you've got other teams in this league. Their success, Lafondra. There's not any team in this league that had success with their forward scoring 5 goals a season.
Totally. There's a correlation.
For sure. So hopefully we get that hero this year, whether that be the lad that's came in, whether that be Troisi, McGree, Tango, whatever. Like, hopefully one of them will be able to pass that 15 goal a year mark, and the crowd can really get behind him.
Yeah.
Because I think that confidence and seeing your forwards score that many goals is infectious to the other group.
Totally.
They want to score goals now. They want to make sure we defend well. It keeps everyone on point, and walking out with a guy like that, halfway through the season, he's already got 10 goals. He's going to be brilliant for us. So I think you can understand from both points of view. I can understand from Bruce's point of view, 100%, but from a fan's point of view, from an outsider's point of view, we want a forward that's going to score 20 goals for sure.
Yeah, and I think you've made such a great point, because, like, for example, in your situation, you've got a young fella these days. You want him to be able to aspire to someone that he can get the name on the back of his
Absolutely.
kit,
Absolutely.
and hold on to that. So you've really illustrated that perfectly.
And you did too, because it's more engaging for kids, and that's ultimately where we want to get the next generation of Adelaide United fans. We want them not wearing a Liverpool shirt, not wearing a Man United shirt.
Totally, we don't want Eurosnops.
You wear it to the game, but we want them to wear it walking down the street with their hero on the back. That's where we want our game at. So in order to do that, we need our heroes.
Man, brother. So you played in many tense affairs for both of these sides against one another over your lengthy A-League career. Do any of these particular battles spring to mind? For me, one of them does, and it was when Cornflakes got a red card at Adelaide Oval, 2008. Do you remember that one?
Oh, man. Did we win that one? Did Brendan Santalab score that goal?
He scored a worldie.
I had a free kick that day.
You did?
I was on free kicks, yeah. Wow. Because he was our coach, and we're hitting free kicks. And I think a few, like Broski was hitting them.
Yeah.
And I put like 4 or 5 over the wall, the flag wall, top corner. And everyone went, well, you can take him. And I said, can I take him? Yeah, brilliant. So I
assumed the mantle.
So I ended up taking a free kick and I went over the bar, yeah. So there you go. Couldn't hit the spot when the timing was right. But I always enjoyed those games at the old Adelaide Oval there.
Yeah.
You know, that was great. There was always, 35,000. Yeah, it was wonderful. Corny, yeah, I remember that game. Corny got sent off. We ended up winning that.
We went 1-0 up and you ended up winning 2-0.
That's right. Another one I remember, I can't remember, obviously the semi to get us into the final.
You won here
first
that
year.
day, yeah.
No, I was suspended for that one.
I was
suspended for
the
that
team
one.
up.
Because Ross Aloisi, in the first leg of that final, like kicked a ball into me as I was walking away.
And you reacted.
The ref came over and gave me a yellow, and so that was my second yellow or something, whatever. But I got suspended for the second leg. Was that the first leg? I can't remember.
The first leg would have been here. No, it would have been in Sydney. So the second leg was here because we finished first in that season. So you had the first leg at your place.
That's right. So I reckon I got a yellow for that. So I was suspended for the next game.
Here's one I'll throw at you. 2006-07, we scored with a last-minute header from Diego Walsh, and I swear it wasn't even his goal, but it buggled over the line.
Where at?
At Cooper Stadium here. Really tense game. You guys were doing quite well. I think you were fourth at the time. We were second, and we needed to win that game. It's a hot January day.
Yep.
And you guys had the better of it, 100%.
Right. I can't remember that one, man.
Yeah?
No.
Well,
was that in the first year or?
Second.
Yeah, I remember all the ones we won.
Second year. Yeah, you would.
I don't remember the ones we lost. Can't remember any of them. Second year, did you say?
That was the second year. Yeah,
Okay.
06-07.
Okay.
So it was about January of 07, I think. We just brought in this Brazilian unknown Diego midfielder.
Yeah.
And he became the hero, instant hero. 90th minute header.
There you go.
Bundled over the line. That's one that really springs to mind because you guys should have won and you outplayed us the entire afternoon.
Yeah.
But
we've had some great clashes. It's been good to play on both sides of the of the coin, so to speak.
I don't know why I keep envisioning you in the sky blue shirt. I feel like all those really tense ones were when you were playing.
Yeah, that was the early ones. Yeah, there was a real battle. There was a lot of verbal on the field. I remember Roscoe Aloisi was always giving it out.
We know that.
Yeah, but and Rude would fire back, and Ross would always have a crack at Yorkie. Yorkie used to go, Fyfey,
who are you?
Who's this guy, man? But he was a great player, Ross, as well. But they were great, enjoyable times. Really, really good times. Yeah.
There's been plenty of fantastic games in the past involving those two sides. So, Fyfey, it looks as though we're a centre back down currently with the squad. Interesting to call up, by the way. You're free, you're not doing anything?
Oh, mate, I need a third leg just to keep up with some of these younger players.
You're just being humble, I think. Which positions do you think within Adelaide's squad are emerging as strong points, and which areas do you think the squad may need reinforcements in, if any? You touched on the centre back, obviously.
Probably the centre backs, yeah. We got a couple of good ones. We've got to keep him fit though,
Jakobsen's quite old as well.
Yeah.
34.
How old is he? 34?
34.
That's young, mate. That's young in my book. Jakobsen's a great player.
Yeah.
When Adelaide United signed him, I thought this is going to be a really good signing. I think he's proved his quality now. I think he's captain now, isn't he, as well?
Just awarded the captaincy about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think rightly so. I think he's the one that should be leading the team at this stage. Very cool on the ball, very good passer, reads the play well. I think at 34, that's age in this day and age. If you look back 15 years ago and the guy's 34, then you must say, he's a bit old. We've come so far in terms of how we look after our bodies now and all the sports science and physio and everything like this, then play should be able to last longer. 34 should be looked at 31, 32 now. You know what?
Almost prime.
Yeah, it really should be, yeah.
When you're experienced as a centre half, as you know, age shouldn't matter because you know that when you lose those 2 yards of pace that you had 5 years ago, you just allow that extra metre.
Absolutely. What comes with experience is you understand when to push a little bit harder, when to have a little bit of a rest, so to speak, in a different kind of way. You just understand your body more, you understand the game more, you read the play a lot better, you're more composed. It's 100% a great trait to have, to be experienced. you know, and then to have Jordan next to him, I think that's a good little.
It's a huge year for him.
Huge year for him. Hopefully he stays fit. He stays away from the refs, things like that. You know, as a centre half, you know, you're always going to put in a few tackles, and you might time them poorly and stuff like that. So
consistency is a big one for him.
Consistency. When he does play 90 minutes, he's a consistent player. It's putting those 90 minutes together constantly, and then keeping those two fit, building a partnership together, and then from there, you know, a solid defence, a solid spine. We'll see the team in good stead.
Totally, mate. Okay, so Fyfey, speaking of Elsie and Jakobsen, how do they go about stopping the likes of Adam Lafondra, Costa Barbarousis and Milos Ninkovic? And would you start Michael Moroney or Ryan Strain at right back for Adelaide United from the point of view of a defender?
I think that the two centre halves will be licking their lips. You know, like I know.
Really?
For sure, it's a great challenge. They're the challenges you want as a player and as a centre half.
Not daunting at all?
No, not daunting.
Or it shouldn't be anyway?
Shouldn't be, no. It should be enjoyable. These are the moments that you want to be playing as a centre half. You want to be on your toes, you want to be coming up against the best forwards in the league and seeing what you're made of and whether you can get on top of them, you know, as collectively but also individually do your job perfectly. And thinking of that feeling of what it's going to be like keeping a clean sheet, you know, against this wonderful strike force, and that's the challenge. But that's the challenges you want. I always used to say, like, you know, in the last 10-15 minutes of the game and you won your lap and you're under the pump, as a defender,
you get off on that.
You kind of get off on that. You love it because, you know, the crosses are coming in, you're headering them away, you're shouting, you're screaming, you're kicking.
Is it the adrenaline? Is it the adrenaline?
For sure. It's just a great feeling because, you know, if we get through this 15-minute spell and we get a win here, it's huge, and it's just a fantastic feeling as a defender. So when you're in the midst of that, most defenders will be like, yeah, we love it. We love that. We love that pressure. We love that feeling of like, we're not going to let them score. We're going to work together. I'm going to do my job. No one's going to beat me. That's the feeling you love as a defender. So they'll be embracing it. They'll be loving it. Those two centre halves. In terms of Straney or Moroney, I would say
Moroney, former teammate of yours.
Yeah, he a little bit younger then. A lot more experience. Both very, you know. I think Straney's probably a little bit more dynamic. That's a tough call, to be honest with you.
Straney's going to last longer. We know that, but experience against, you know, like you touched on, such a formidable strike force. Do you go with the experience, or do you throw straight in and rely on those overlaps?
I always think you should never hesitate in throwing a young player into the mix. You know, that shouldn't be sorry to interrupt you, but that shouldn't be something that sways your decision. You know, if the lad's good enough, he's good enough, and that's that. Sometimes it's better to go with the young guy because he's fearless. You know.
And he is fearless, trained to be fair.
He is. So, you know, at this point in time, I'll probably go Strain, to be honest with you.
I would just say I firmly believe Michael Moroney is the best crosser of the ball in our team.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's funny when you compare the two, and they both have different aspects of their game that they're very good at, and the other one's a little bit less than that. You know, it's hard to just pick one. You know, so what I would say as a coaching staff, you would probably assess what the player on the opposition side's like, what he likes to do, and then go from there. But tough call. You know, again, you're looking at a little bit of experience in Moroney. You know, very solid player, very consistent player, or that youth that you know,
just that energy.
You know, so tough call. Yeah.
He has leaned towards Strain.
Who played in the last game?
Strain.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Although, I was just going to say as well, it's fascinating going back to the previous point you made. It's incredible how, as fans, we almost empathise for the players that have to deal with the big names on the opposition end. Yet you say that, you know, they thrive from it. Like they look forward to it.
I think so. Yeah.
And it's just how the two fans and players are so different in that respect. You know, like as fans we stress for the player, and yet the player, I'm sure, is kind of, you know, saying don't worry.
Sure, be backing himself. I would back myself against any forward that I've ever played against, and I played against some wonderful,
ballers,
some ballers, man. You know, Del Piero.
Yeah.
But you know, you can't look at it as that's Del Piero. You know, you got to look at it as I can't wait for this challenge. I'm playing against one of the greatest players of our game, and you know, and that's what you love to do. Robbie Fowler, you know, okay, was in the
he was getting on.
Yeah, he was getting on, but he still had that quality, that movement, that sharpness, that smartness, you know.
Still scored goals. So.
Yeah, and then you've obviously got, you know, your Barishas and your all these kind of players, but it's a opportunity to pit your wits and your skills against the best in the league. I think these centre halves will be, like I said, will be embracing that challenge. Well, they will not shy away from that. No way.
Yeah, so I think in summary, you know, if you don't aspire to be challenged as a footballer, then what's the point, right?
That's right. You'd rather. We touched back on that game. I remember that game when we won 8-1. That was boring.
Yeah,
that was boring. I was thinking, I should probably try to score here. You know, like
get up for a few sneaky
goals. Yeah. It was like, can I just get it, knock it into the midfield, and then I won't see it again for 7 minutes. I'd rather be under the pump a little bit. You know,
we never consider that as fans.
Yeah. But it is. But that's what's, as a centre back, that's what's a great feeling. Keeping those clean sheets.
Yeah.
As an individual, doing your job really well, being happy with your game at the end of the game. As a collective, being solid, being strong, keeping a clean sheet. If, you know, like I said, sometimes winning 1-0 is a more enjoyable result than winning 3 or 4-0. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense, mate, and I'm absolutely riveted by getting in your head there for a bit. How do you feel both these sides are going to go over the course of the season?
I think both will be really good. I think I think Melbourne City is a bit of a dark horse to win the. Oh, not really a dark horse, but you know, just seeing them up front, you know, a few.
Oh, there's momentum there, man.
There's momentum there. You know, they've got a really good balance in the team.
J-Mac, are you a J-Mac fan?
Yeah, good player, man. Yeah, good player.
I played against him, obviously.
He scored 2.
Yeah.
That's the difference between him. He wasn't really. It wasn't like he was
involved in everything,
and that's what makes him so good.
Yeah,
because you turn off for 2 seconds and he's going to score, and he only needs 1 or 2 chances, you know. So I think you know, he'll get a few goals this season, and that's what they needed after obviously the departure of Bruno. But they're a bit of a dark horse for me to do really well. But I think always Sydney will be up there. It'll be how they react from being so successful last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then Adelaide as well, I think, is definitely a top 4 team. They should definitely be aiming for top 4 as a base. But really, you know, they should be challenging for the title this year, I think. And you know,
is that so?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I think definitely top 4, without putting too much pressure on the lads and the coaching staff and things like that. You know, I'm sure, you know, behind closed doors they'll be looking for success and trophies this season, but they will say, you know, top 4, top 6, whatever. But you know, it's a new coach and he'll want to just steps at a time. But ultimately, you know, if you're not aiming to win the thing, well, what's the point in being there?
Totally.
You know, if you're a player, a coach, stuff, and you're aiming for top 4, forget about it. You're not going to win nothing. So you've got to believe in yourself, believe in your teammates, believe in your coaching staff, have confidence, go out there and take it to whatever team, you know, is in your face. So, you know, I would say Perth, I would say Sydney, I would say Adelaide, I would say Melbourne City will be for me, and then victory just outside of that.
We love optimism in here, so I'm glad to hear you're as confident as you are, Fyfey. Now, your prediction?
For
tomorrow night.
Oh, right. I predict a 1-1 draw.
I was hoping you weren't going to sit on the fence, but I'm inclined to agree with you. I think this has draw written all over it, unfortunately. So, not that there's anything wrong with entertaining draws, but yeah, it'd be nice to kick the season off with a win. But yeah, I think you might be on the money there, mate. Now, we've got a fan question in from Darren Clark. So Darren says he's referencing you. Obviously, loved his time at Campbelltown. Is he playing on? That's question number 1. And is he keen on coaching?
There you go. Yeah, probably. I'll probably be looking to coach this year.
Yeah.
In some capacity at Campbelltown, whether that be a reserves role or assistant coach role to Phil. Phil's the coach there now, so I think that's probably the direction that my footballing life is kind of taking at the moment.
Sure.
Could I play on? Absolutely. I feel fit. I feel really, really good in terms of, like I said, my fitness, my everything else that comes with that. But sometimes, you got to look at the future. You got to understand and take opportunities sometimes when they come your way. So this is a group that I want to continue to be involved with, the Campbelltown squad and the club in general. So my future will be at Campbelltown, probably in a coaching capacity for next season, and hopefully, something that I do have passion for. But this is also, to see if this is a career that I truly want to take off, and pursue. Like I've said in the past, once you're doing something, you got to do it 100%. So if I do decide to continue to coach and then continue to get to the next stages of coaching, then it's something that I'll aggressively pursue.
There we have it, guys. Well, Fyfey, it's been absolutely riveting having you in the studio, mate. One of Adelaide United's great servants, a local South Australian we're very proud of. We wish you all the very best in your future. Again, been fantastic having you on. All the best with what you do going forward, and thanks for being a part of our history, mate.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Great stuff. Guys, remember to like and share the page. Go the Reds tomorrow night. Hopefully we can get up against Sydney FC, and we'll see you next time on the Pure Red Reds. Thanks a lot. Cheers.